What was it like having going from Pope John the 23rd to Pope Paul the 6th for you and for the church in general, the transition of popes? We're going through that again right now.
That's right. Well, it was a very smooth transition. Pope Paul the 6th had spent many years in the Vatican, and he really completed the work of the Second Vatican Council. He brought the process undertaken by Pope John the 23rd to its fulfillment, and I think he was a good transition pope for the council because he was respected by both the more progressive and the more conservative elements of the church. And I think that his unique gift was to be able to implement the teachings of the council in a way that found acceptance from all quarters within the church. And so I think both had different gifts, but both were in the right place at the right time.
One thing we talked about it off the air today, I didn't bring up, and I want to be sure to bring it up on the air. One of the greatest things you did as a seminarian, you were a camp counselor up at Camp Tecowitha on Lake Luzerne every year, where you and I met. And there were some giants of the Albany Roman Catholic Diocese at the time there, Father Delaney, who ran the camp with Mr. Fausel, but also Bishop Clark, who was not bishop at the time, was there. You were there. That had to be a great time.
Oh, it was a great time. I spent 4 years as a counselor, well, 4 years that I was in the seminary as a college student. And we got to know one another very well as seminarians through our time spent as counselors. And I really enjoyed the setting of the camp, but most importantly, the opportunity to work with the campers who came there. And I still run into people like yourself who were campers there and who remember those days with fondness and affection. And it makes me feel good that that was a pleasant experience for those who were campers at Tecowitha.
Well, the two most prominent people for me up at Camp Tecowitha were Bishop Hubbard and Mr. Catucci.
Well, Mr. Catucci was probably the most important man in the camp because he was the camp cook and used to come with his wife and his children. And he really took it on as a special vocation for himself to make sure that the youngsters who came to camp didn't just get leftovers, so to speak, but had nutritious meals morning, noon, and evening.
Well, after being a parish priest in different parishes for quite a few years, all of a sudden, Howard Hubbard becomes bishop of the Albany Roman Catholic Diocese. Did you ever think?
No, it had never crossed my mind. I should say I didn't spend much time in a parish.
Okay.
I was only 1 year in a parish, 3 months at St. Joseph's and 9 months, I think, at the cathedral.
Okay.
And then I was asked to go and be assistant editor to the Evangelist.
Okay.
And I was asked by the then editor, Father Varden, and I said, I really want to be a parish priest. I don't want to spend my priesthood in the office. And he said, well, unless it makes you physically sick, I think you have to do it because the bishop is asking. So he said, think about it. I went home and I called him the next day and I said, I didn't sleep all night and I'm physically sick. Would you please see if you can delay or cancel the assignment altogether? And the bishop did, and I was happy about that, and I thought I was home free to stay in the parish for a while. Well, a month later, during that summer, I had been conducting the first Head Start program in the city of Albany, and that was under the aegis in those days, not of the school office, but of Catholic Charities.
All right.
And the director of Catholic Charities liked what I did with the Head Start program, so he convinced the bishop to send me back to school for social work. Well, I couldn't say no twice in a row, so I went back to Catholic U. I got my degree in, I didn't get my degree. I was only there for a year. I came home for the summer, and I worked in a project known as the Inner City Task Force, which is about 40 priests, ministers, rabbis, seminarians, and sisters who immersed ourselves in Arbor Hill in the south end of Albany for 6 months. And at the end of that period of time, it was suggested that we report to our denominational executive, in my case, Bishop McGinn, who was administrator of the diocese, that it was unfair that we engaged in all this work for 6 weeks and then everything came to a screeching halt until the following summer, and that this ought to be an ongoing activity of the church. And I dutifully wrote a letter to Bishop McGinn to that effect, fully expecting that it would be taken as a straw in the wind and put in the circular file known as a wastepaper basket. But sure enough, the bishop called me in and asked if I'd be willing to forego my second year and final year of studies at Catholic University in social work and start a storefront apostle known as Providence House. Little, I was thrilled to do such because I never wanted to be back in school in the first place. And so I began that storefront apostle in an old furniture store on South Pearl Street and was an outreach center to the poor and disadvantaged. We provided food and clothing and helped people get jobs and housing and open up educational opportunities for them. And I discovered that the number one need in the community at the time was to respond to those who were addicted to drugs, mainly heroin. And when I looked around the community to find a resource to try to respond to that need, I found not only was there none in Albany, but none in the entire northeastern part of New York State. And so that's how Hope House got founded in 1967. And I'm still associated with Hope House. I'm the chair of the board, and I've been with it all those years. And I consider it one of the major joys of my life to have been involved in getting that off the ground.
Well, that kind of attitude has permeated the diocese under your time as bishop of the Albany Roman Catholic Diocese. Did you ever think that would happen, that you become our bishop?
No, I had no thought whatsoever. And at the time that I was named in 1977, I was the youngest bishop in the country.
And now you're the longest tenured bishop in this diocese,
and
right?
Now I'm the longest tenured in the diocese, and I'm the longest tenured active bishop in the country.
Congratulations.
Well, that and $2 get you on any CDDA bus in town.
What do you think has been your greatest accomplishment as bishop of the Albany Roman Catholic Diocese? How do you want to be remembered?
Well, when I was nominated as bishop, you had to choose a motto. And the motto I chose was "Rejoice, we are God's people." And I chose that motto because I wanted to emphasize that all of us, by virtue of baptism, are called to be full members of the church. We're all called to holiness. We're all called to ministry. And I wanted to see greater lay involvement in the life of the church. And I think we've achieved that over the past 36 years, and that's the accomplishment of which I'm most proud. We have a lay ministry formation program. We have the St. Bernard's Institute program where lay people can get formal degrees in theology. And we have parish councils in every parish. We have people serving in roles as lectors and Eucharistic ministers and in roles of service to the poor, to those who are incarcerated, to those who are developmentally disabled. And I am delighted that that vision of the Second Vatican Council, that the people are the church, not the hierarchy, is the accomplishment that I sought to achieve, and I think we've gone a long way to do that.
I'm going to ask you a question which you probably won't answer, but it's a three-part question. In your years as a priest of the Albany Roman Catholic Diocese, who has been your favorite priest, who has been your favorite sister, and who has been your favorite brother? Bishop Hubbard, you're on the spot.
I'm going to get in very serious difficulty. Let me say this. In terms of priests, I told you I was so greatly privileged to be under Monsignor Jack Jones during my first year of priesthood. And then another great privilege was to live with Father Peter Young for 10 years at St. John's. I think those were the greatest influences in my life. I have many priest friends, Bishop Clark, Father Powers, Father Ferrano, all those who have served as my chancellors and secretaries through the years. They're wonderful friends. But I would have to say those were the two most significant influences. The two sisters, I had to cite two, was Sister Serena Bronson, who revolutionized Catholic Charities from a 3-county agency to a 14-county agency, and her successor, Sister Maureen Joyce, who I began working with as a chaplain when she was in charge of community maternity services.
And over on Livingston Avenue now you have the Sister Maureen Joyce Center.
And we have the Sister Maureen Joyce Center, and they were so influential in my life. And then Brother Celsus John, who I had as a geometry teacher at LaSalle and Troy, he continued to live here in Albany almost to the point of his death a year or so ago. And he was really a raconteur and a smoozer par excellence. And I always used to look forward to seeing him and sharing some memories about the old days together.
I have, you brought up Father Young's name. I have a favorite Father Young recollection. When Father McTavie celebrated his 50th anniversary as a priest at St. Bernard's, you were there for his Mass, and Father Young had been chosen to be the speaker. And for our viewers, Father Young was under Father McTavie at Cardinal McCluskey High School, so he was his boss, and obviously Bishop Hubbard was Father Young's boss. So Father Young makes reference to having the two of you as his boss, and afterwards Father McTavie got up, and you got up and both said that you had no recollection of ever being Father Young's boss. It didn't work that way.
It didn't work that way at all. I said the last time that Father Young had a boss was before they sent him to kindergarten.
But you have so many fond... What is your greatest memory of being a priest in the Albany Roman Catholic Diocese, or being a priest, period?
Well, my fondest memory would be to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the diocese,
right,
which we did at Auriesville in 1997. We had Cardinal John O'Connor and all the bishops from New York State present. We filled the Coliseum with over 5,000 parishioners at Auriesville, and it was a wonderful way to observe the growth and progress of this diocese since its inception in 1847. And I think that that particular gathering kind of was the capstone of my years as bishop in the diocese.
Well, Bishop Howard Hubbard, thank you for being our bishop. Thank you for being a priest in the Albany Roman Catholic Diocese. Thank you for being my friend, going way back to Camp Tecumseh up at Lake Luzerne. And do you have any final words for our viewers today as we wrap it up?
Well, I thank you, Joe, for giving me this opportunity to share these memories, and I'm grateful to all of the people of the diocese and to all of our ecumenical and interfaith friends with whom we developed such rapport over the years. And I just hope that in one way or another I have been a positive influence in our community.
Well, thank you, Bishop Hubbard. We're going to miss you, and we hope you hang around some way.
I'll be here. I'll still be a priest.
I'm Joe Condon. Have yourself a wonderful day.